All right, let's get started. Let us get started. Okay, what are we at now? Let me just change my share here so that we're looking at the same thing. And we left off at the, oh yes, we left off at the quiz. Let's go back to my PowerPoint here. Hello, welcome back, welcome back. It is the final run. Hopefully we've covered quite a bit, covered a bit about what it is to be an analyst. You wanna be able to predict the future. You want to use statistics to do it. You want to make things easy. You want to take data, boil it down to a couple numbers. And then you, on the other hand, you want to make things a little bit more complicated, actually. You want to take your explanatory metrics, the things that you can do something about, and you want to split them up by a dimension. And you want to have a look and see all these different dimensions. And that's what we're doing now. We're using Google Analytics to divide up some major marketing response variables, or sorry, explanatory variables, and we're then able to see, right, is there something we can do about them? Either response or explanatory, anything. We just divide them up and we see, is there something we should be doing? Is there something we can be doing? We try to come up with a plan for the future, and this is what analytics is all about. And why it's exciting, because you can actually do things even if you aren't the senior manager. You can come up with a really good idea that and put it forward and say, well, the data suggests we should do that. Always a really good expression for analysts. The data suggests. Not me. I don't have anything to say, but my data is saying something. All right, let's go here on to the next bit. Okay, so we talked in Google Analytics about behavior, where Google measures all the things people do on your site, how long they stay on it, what page did they come in on, what page did they exit on. Then we looked at acquisition, where we found out where they came from, which was quite interesting because then we know what channels they came from and we know how to attribute value to the channels. We know how many people came from email or Google or social media or organic search or direct or whatever. And then we're able to say, right, this is what we should spend our time and effort on because it's bringing us the most money. Okay, great job for analysts to do. Now we're going to talk about the audience. And this is where things get kind of interesting with Google. And so one reason why I like Google Analytics, especially when learning about analytics, is Google has data that you simply cannot get anywhere else. It is not available anywhere else. You literally cannot get it anywhere else. Okay, and I'll explain why. First off, we are looking at right now this big load of messy text here that you can't read. That is what's called an HTTP header, okay? And you can find it every time you request a web page, you send this. You didn't know this, but you send a whole load of gobbledygook here to the web server, and it tells the web server, hi, this is where I am. Okay, you tell everyone. Go all around the world and you tell everyone, hi, I'm here, hi, I'm here, hi, I'm here. And it's a location that's your IP address, okay, which is where your computer is on the internet, but it also can be translated into where you are physically. Did you know that? Everywhere you go, every website, you're basically telling them somewhat, you're telling them where you are physically. Not exactly, but close. But additionally, you tell the website all sorts of other things, like what browser you're using, whether you're on a mobile or not, what kind of mobile, Samsung, Apple, what if you're on a computer, what kind of computer, Mac, PC, and that information is then intercepted by our little friend Google Analytics, and it's stored, and it's capturing data about you. This is a whole privacy thing that people are all worried about, but for as a consumer, maybe you might be worried about it. As an analyst, you're like, yes, more data, because that gives us more dimensions to work with, right? So now we can not only look at our scorecard figures by what pages they visited, by what channel they came from, but now we have country, we have browser, we have PC or mobile. If we have mobile, we have iPhone or Android. We have all sorts of ways of breaking down our data in order to try and figure out what the heck is going on our website. Are iPhone people converting more than Android people? Are people who are using Google Chrome particularly likely to buy things? Are people from Malaysia more likely to buy things than people from Singapore? These are things that we can learn because Google collects this data for us. And look, you really can't get, I mean, in theory, you could get this data in theory, because what Google does is it reads one little part of this thing down here at the bottom. It's really teeny tiny there, but you can look it up if you want. User agent. And it interprets this and comes out with all this information. Okay, it's pretty amazing. And only Google does this well. Only Google does it well. But that isn't the only thing Google does. Google also, when you download a web page and the Google Analytics code goes up on the site to capture, who you are, right? Remember? And that code snitches on you. Google also sends a little identifier, a little bit of data, and it's called a cookie. And that cookie sits in your browser. I don't know if you knew this. That data sits in your browser. And then as you surf around the internet, Google can then figure out all the different websites you visit. Okay. So for example, this is my one example here. If you go to a site that Google has an ad on, then Google can know that you visited. So for example, I went to some website, puts a Google cookie on my thing. I go to Straits Time, any other newspaper or website has this, and you see a big banner ad there. And it's probably a good chance it's provided by Google. Then what Google does is when it puts the ad up there, it has a little look at your cookie, has a little look at the site that you're on and goes, noted. You read the Straits Times. And then from that, this is where it gets a little bit unbelievable, but it is true. From that, they try to figure out who you are. Are you male, female? Are you 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 54? Are you a news junkie? Maybe you visit 5 news sites in one day. Google goes, 5 news sites in one day, writes you down as a news junkie. Are you in the market to buy something? Did I click on this ad? And they go, in the market to buy a Surface dock or something. All this data is collected by Google because it then is used to help them sell more advertising. But when we get on to our Google Analytics, we can use it too. And this is in the audience section. And when we go into audience overview, we don't really see a whole lot of great data at first. Maybe we see this new visitor versus returning visitor. That's kind of interesting. We want to know how many people are new, how many people are visiting. Are returns. And that can be quite good. But when you look down the left here, we see demographics, your age, your gender, interests, news junkie, green living enthusiast, music lover, bicyclists, everything. They try and figure out everything about you. Geo, where you are in the world. Behavior, that's just if you're new or returning. Technology, your browser. Mobile, are you on a mobile or not? And a few other things which get a little bit complicated. But anyway, in short, the audience is Google constantly working on every single person who visits your site anonymously, right? We don't tell Google, every website we go, hi, here's my name, here's my address, whatever. No, all we do is visit the site. But then Google with its cookie then tracks you all around the internet and figures out who you are. And then reports it to the website owner. Now, they don't give you your name. They don't give you your credit card. They don't give you any information, personal information. No PII, it's called personally identifiable information. But it gives you another dimension for you to work with and figure out what is going on your site, okay? So when we look, for example, at this, so if we go into audience, mobile overview, we see a report, the mobile overview report, which tells us desktop, mobile, tablet. Wow. So now we know how many desktop people, how many mobile people, how many tablet people we've had on our site, and all the different things that they have done, what they converted at, how many pages they viewed, whatever. And maybe we find an opportunity and we go, hey, everyone who's converting on our site is desktop, for example. Okay. In our analysis head, we go, well, that's not right. A lot of people visit on mobile, they just don't convert. What's wrong with our mobile site? Let's go have a look. Let's try and improve our mobile site. Let's try and give special offers to people on the mobile site. Let's try and boost that up. And in that, by doing that, we then boost up our business. And all we've done is looked at one report. This could be our only report that we focus on, and we go, right, our desktop performance is good, our mobile performance is terrible. Let's try and get our mobile performance up to our desktop performance. And voila, you have increased your business. Okay, just by doing a little bit of analysis. So you don't, analytics doesn't have to be big, but it does have to be clever. Okay, it does have to be like, you've got to go, right, where do I think is a big difference? I'm going to go and research it. I'm going to see if it's a big difference. And if it is, then I'm going to try and go, right, well, it's a big difference between mobile and desktop. So I'm going to do something about it. What else we got here? We got technology browser. So Chrome, Safari, Firefox, very interesting. Tells you all the different browsers and how many of them come to the website. Demographics, age. Okay, so this is the one I think is a bit more controversial. In that, age and gender and stuff like that. In that, what they've done is they've looked at the website you visited, tracked it, noted it down. Again, they don't know. Well, Google may know who you are, but they sure as heck can't tell them. They're not going to tell anybody. It'd be the worst thing they could do. They keep all of their information very close to their chest and anonymize everything. But what they've done, they've looked at you. They've added everything up about you. Okay. They've gone, what websites have they visited? What ads have they clicked on? What emails, right? Google Gmails, looked at your emails. What sort of emails do you write? And then they're able to make a reasonable guess about your age range, reasonable guess about your gender. And what I find is, in my experience anyway, is it seems to be reasonably close. I mean, there's no way of knowing exactly. However, when you have a site and you've, for example, one site that I do, it's definitely geared at people who are sort of 40 and above, female. And when I look at my Google Analytics, and they have no way of knowing this, they have no way of knowing that it should be females 40 and above. It's pretty accurate. It's almost all female traffic they've indicated, and almost all 40 and above. So pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. All right, let us poke around a little bit in audience, because it's one thing, again, to hear me yammer on about it. It's another thing at all to have a go and actually try and use it. Okay. So where are we now? Exercise number 4. So let me just switch over to quiz. And we are at exercise. Okay, so let me just count them just so I know what's up and coming. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5. Okay, so now we have three different ones. Okay, and this is going to be a little bit harder because I'm not sort of spoon feeding you with one report. You're going to have to find the report and find the statistic. Okay, a little bit of a search game for you. All right, so hopefully we're back there. Let me just put the MMAE. I'll put this in the chat just in case anyone's feeling a little bit lost. Oh, 1 second. Here we go. And let me switch to the next one. So we're going to have 3 more. So 11, 12, and 13, and go. Okay, how are we doing here? How are we doing here? Pretty good, pretty good. Almost everyone. Final answers in. Final answers in. All right, a couple there coming in a bit late, but it's all right. It's all right. Throw a guess in. Why not? Okay, what was the guess? What was the? All right, 3 out of 4 say mobile. Mobile had the highest e-commerce conversion rate, which is kind of a bit surprised. A bit surprised. Maybe it would be surprised if it had the most conversions. But you'd think maybe that more people who came on desktop would convert than mobile. But let's have a look. Let's have a look. So we go into, and remember, if we're lost, you can just type up here. I'm just going to type in mobile. And mobile devices, well, actually, mobile devices is the brand name thing that I was talking about before, but mobile overview will tell us whether it's mobile, desktop, or tablet. And we're making sure our date is correct. Yep, September 1st to September 30th. And we see mobile, 29 out of 10,000, desktop, 4 out of 10,000, tablet, 0. So there we go. Mobile is by far and away the most. Now, the reason for this, my theory, is that because most people who are on desktop and visit the site are like us. They are visiting to kind of goof around with Google Analytics. And they view the site a few times, and they view a few pages, and they don't buy anything, of course, because they're just checking it out. And then people who come on mobile, maybe they come from ads, or maybe they come from search. They're looking for Google products. I'm not sure. And they're just more likely to buy. But anyway, overall, the conversion rates are actually very low on the site. And it's largely because, yeah, it is just a site to learn on. However, you can buy it. That Google merch is for real. And so you can really buy it. And yeah, I guess some people want Google merch. Maybe if you work there, or I don't know, your kids work there or something. I don't know. Maybe appealing. So anyway, back to quiz here. All right, and so the crowd was correct. All right, next one for audience. From which browser did we get the most revenue? In September 2020? Of course. Oh, right. Okay, let's have a look. Where are we up to here? How are we doing? Pretty good. Yep. Okay, so almost done. Yeah, 10 seconds. Have a guess. And when I show you, you'll be surprised. I think, maybe. You might think Google. You might think it'll be Chrome, right? But actually, anyway, the crowd thinks it's Safari, interesting enough, which is the native browser on iOS. But if we go back to our Google Analytics, we can find out for sure. We know for sure whether or not what browser it is. And all we have to do to find that report, we just type browser. And we see audience, technology, browser, OS. We don't have to worry about how to thing to it, but I just want to look at it. Okay, so here we go. Browser. Safari, 5,721 visitors. Chrome, 32,546. So you'd think that Chrome dominate on this site. Then when we look at the revenue, it's the other way around. Safari has $2,402.99 of revenue. Chrome, $693.42. And so our Safari users are far outspending our Chrome users. And I think it's because they're on device and they're on mobile. So it seems even Google employees use Apple. Then more Google employees use Apple. They don't use the Google phone or the Google browser. They just use the Safari browser. I would presume that it's Google employees buying this stuff. I don't know. All right. Very good. Last one. And go over to 13. From what we know, who spent more in September 2020, men or women? Okay. Who spent more in September 2020, men or women? One would think this would be pretty obvious. You would just know. But an analyst doesn't just sit around. An analyst goes and looks at the data and figures it out firsthand. Now, look, this is not a very hard thing to interpret, but it gives you some idea of what is available in Google Analytics, gives you some how you can divide up your data, but also shows you a very important limitation. Okay, let's have a look here. Go to Google Analytics and, from the quiz, we see that the plurality, or the majority, women spent slightly more than men. Let's have a look. So go back there. And, well, we can't type men and women. We have to use the Google term, which is gender. Demographics, gender. We go into demographics, gender, and we see... And it's loading and loading and loading and loading. Sometimes it gets stuck. No, this usually behaves pretty well. But here we go. All right, there we go. So male, female here, very simple. And when we look at the revenue, we sort it by revenue. Here we go. Female, $225, male, $184. Great, wonderful. Except, it's a bit suspicious, isn't it? It's a bit suspicious because it seems a bit low. It seemed to be, we recall that we had like 3,000 plus in revenue. And here is where we see the limitations of working with somebody like Google, where they bring in data, which is called third-party data. We'll talk about that tomorrow. That it may not be complete, it may not be accurate, it may not be, who knows, right? We have no idea what Google is giving us because we have no way of checking. We have no way of going through each person coming to our website and going, are you male or female? No way. So in some ways we are beholden to Google. to find this data for us. And then we see here, down here, we see 13% of total. Very hard to see. Obscure it. They don't tell you. What more accurately, what this report would be, female, male, unknown, right? But for whatever reason, Google has decided to not say unknown and just show it as if they're facts. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure I agree with that. I think it's probably better to make it very clear what you're presenting, what you're able to provide or you're not able to provide. But whatever. It's free, so we got to just take what it is. Anyway, so they do their best. They track people around the web. They look at their websites. They look at their email, I guess, look at various things, and they try and come up with a diagnosis. And you actually can find what Google knows about you. Okay, you can go to any browser. You can log into the browser with your Gmail or something like that, and just I think it's the website is just called literally "What does Google know about me?" And it will tell you. It will tell you what Google thinks you're male or female, what your age range is, what your interests are, what kind of person you are. Are you a news hound? Are you a tech junkie? Are you a this? Are you that? All these things become clear, and then you see how Google has analyzed you. It actually got me pretty right. Yeah, it was pretty good. I think the one thing I think got me on was boats, and interest in boating. And I'm like, I think that's probably the last thing on earth I'm interested in is a boat. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. So I recommend it, and you can get to know what data Google has on you, and then potentially that can help you as an analyst because you know what the data Google has on your audience. All right. Let's go back to our little slides here. And what time is it? Oh, we got time. So now I want to sort of distinguish in our response variables or our KPIs, whichever way you want to look at it. Okay, one can be a KPI, one can be a response variable. And the difference between a e-commerce site and let's say a B2B lead gen site or a website which doesn't have a purchase as a end result as a KPI. You have nothing to buy. But your website still exists. And what I would say is even if you're at a loss, like I've had some consumer packaged goods companies, we don't really have anything to sell. And we don't really have anything to do on the website either. We just go, oh, here's our latest ad, and hope for the best. And I go, I don't think that is the best way to measure whether you're getting through your consumers. Because if you have some goal, something that you want something that you set for people to do, the more people you get to your site, the more people are enthusiastic about your brand, the more that they will do it, more or less, right? So if you have, even if it is a contest or it is an email list to get a joke a week or something, I don't know. But, something that makes people jump through a hoop a little bit in order to get something. They'll get something in return. Maybe, a contest would be good. Something like that. Maybe you do a lucky draw every month or whatever. And, you send it to their home address. So you need their address and everyone just gets one per address. I don't know, something which people have to fill in. And that would be a great proxy measure for, say, for example, you're doing a big out-of-home ad campaign or TV campaign. You should see some significant rise in your, whatever it is, your contest or whatever that you're doing. Okay. And so I do think even B2B, business to business, or if it even is like a consumer packaged good company, have something that people can participate in on your site, and you can measure their level of sort of brand enthusiasm. Now for this, we're just going to use Google's, of course. And Google, quite kindly, did not just have an e-commerce end to their visit of their website. It had a thing where you could sign up for their email list. Okay, and they called that registrations. Now, in order to see something like a registration, you have to use goals. Okay, so if you do end up using Google Analytics a bit more, remember, e-commerce is money. Goals is kind of like counting. Okay, so we're going to go to conversions. And you look on the left here and you see there's goals here. Yes, that's what we're going to do now. And then there's also e-commerce. There's also e-commerce there. And we're not going to do that yet. We're going to do that next. But first of all, we're going to look at goals. And the important thing to know about goals is that you can have many of them. You have all sorts of different things that you can ask people to do. It can be as much as it could be making a purchase. That could be your goal. Or it could be as little as watching a video. or I don't know, clicking a button or anything. But in between, we have, you know, filling out a form and giving your email address. And so that's what Google has here as their registration goal. And so when you look here in the overview goals, we see that right now we're looking at all goals, and we get to see that all goals, there was 1,723 goal completions in whatever period this was. There were 24 purchase completed, 1,382 engaged users, 43 registrations, which is kind of what we're looking for, and something entered checkout 274. And so when we have all goals set up here, we're able to see how many people achieved each goal. However, if we want to look at registrations in more detail, we need to change our goal option. And we change our goal option to registrations. Now we're an analyst. We're getting a little bit more detailed analysis of this. We're not just looking at goals as a whole. We're looking at the registration goals. And now we get to see the data only from a perspective of registration. And this is kind of like putting a dimension on a table, because we're able to, you know, view goals from one particular perspective, and that is registrations. So now we see the number of registrations. We see the registration conversion rate. We see the daily number of registrations. And if we put a value to registrations, we'd see that there, but we don't have that value. Okay. So the difference is, when goal options is all goals, we see information about everything. When goal option is changed to a goal, it's like adding a dimension and doing a more careful analysis of our goals. And the goals are just, somebody has completed something on the site. Okay, it just means that they filled out a form or watched a video or whatever. Or the other one is engaged user, which is a little bit thing. It's like they viewed 10 web pages, I think is called, and it turns that into an engaged user. And that's another goal as well. But I'd say for your business, getting them to do something special, something difficult, something that they wouldn't have just done otherwise, but except for the fact that they want something from you. They want more information. They want to enter a contest. They want to, I don't know, get special emojis or something. I don't know, whatever it is, you got to think of something that attracts people. And that will be a good proxy for how engaged and interested people are with your brand. It can be very useful, very useful. All right, let's just poke around this for a minute. There's only, I think, a couple of questions here. Let's see. This is number 5. Oh, no, hold on. Sorry. I am going to do e-commerce as well. We'll do e-commerce at the same time. We'll do exercises for e-commerce and goals at the same time. Okay, so not only is there goals, which is a counting mechanism for determining whether or not people have converted, there is also an e-commerce module. Now, e-commerce is complicated. E-commerce is complicated. It needs to be deeply integrated with your website. Fortunately, most websites that sell things are integrated with Google e-commerce. All you have to do is hook it up and it'll pretty much work. So if you're using Shopify or WooCommerce with WordPress or Squarespace or any of these various other platforms, they will integrate with Google Analytics e-commerce, because it's a very difficult integration. But in short, Google Analytics e-commerce will track not only that somebody's converted and bought something, but how much they bought. It will track how many people entered your shopping cart, right, and got a shopping cart. How many people completed the shopping cart and bought something? How many people abandoned things in shopping carts? How many people viewed various products? And then out of how many people who viewed the products, how many people put them in a shopping cart, and how many people bought? Yeah, all sorts of things, like crazy, crazy, crazy amount of data, which when you're not in e-commerce looks a bit insane. But when you're in e-commerce, it seems absolutely necessary. You need this sort of data in order to improve. If you aren't able to do the merchandising on your site and see which products are most popular and see which lists categories are most popular and see, in a particular list, whether list item 1 is added to cart more than list item 2, all this sort of stuff, you're running blind. You have no idea how to improve things. So super important. In fact, it's so important. I actually do a 2-day course on e-commerce for the real e-commerce heads. But for us now, we just really just need to look at this bit because we just need to compare our e-commerce conversions with our previous goal conversions, which are registration. And here you see very simply, we see revenue, e-commerce conversion rate, numbers of transaction, and that very important little thing there, average order value, which tells us how much did people buy if they bought something. Okay, so this is conversion goals is where we were before. Conversions e-commerce is where we are looking at now. Okay, now we'll do exercise 5 because there's a few exercises that cover both the goals and e-commerce. I didn't make it too hard, but a little bit of poking around just so you can get to appreciate the depth and vastness of Google Analytics. Okay, so let me go back to my quiz here. And I will switch over to 14 and we will spend a couple minutes. Let's have a look at this now. Oops, hold on. I didn't do the correct answer. There we go. Bang. All right, there we go. All right, let's go to 14. And how many goal completions were there in September 2020? All right, let's have a look and see how many goal completions were there in September 2020. Okay, let's go back to my Google Analytics and we're going to go into goals and conversions and goals. And we can start with overview because we're just doing a whole count, okay? So how many goal completions were there in September 1st to September 30th? Yes, that's exactly it. And the total there is 8,082 total number of goal completions. Now, most of them were this engaged users things, which we're not going to talk about too much, but 8,082 goals in total is the answer to the question. Okay. Ooh, sorry, I forgot to check how many people got it. Oh, there we go, 70%. Excellent, well done. Okay, next question. How many purchase completed were there in September 20? How many purchases completed? A little bit more interesting than the total number. How many number of purchases? All right, how many purchases completed were there in September 2020? Let's have a look in a few seconds here. What do people think? We're seeing live answers now. Would be all right. So almost everyone. Almost everyone says 73. Let's have a look. Go back to our Google Analytics, and we stay on the same page, right? Stay on the same page because we're looking at overview, goal completions 82, but we look on the same page. When we're looking at the goals as a whole, we see not only the total, but we also see them broken down by the type of goal: purchase completed, engaged user, registrations, enter checkout, all different types of goals, all available in this main page for us to see. All right. Next one. Oops, sorry. Hold on. I've just actually switched it without being on the quiz page. 1 second. There we go. What percentage of our visitors? It's a little bit more difficult. What percentage of our visitors registered with the site in September 2020? What percentage registered? Okay, people are having a little bit more trouble with that than I thought, but well, let's see what we got here. So we are going to look and throwing answers in at the last minute there. What did the crowd think? What did the crowd think of this? I just lost my browser. There we go. Crowd thinks 0.43, 43 out of 10,000 people registered with the site in September 2020. Let's have a look. We can go over to our Google Analytics and right, we see registration in goal, registration, goal 3 completion. Well, we had 232 in September, but that doesn't tell us the rate, does it? Well, we could get clever and we could take 232 and divide it by the number of sessions, which we have somewhere. But there's an easier way. And that is to change our goal option here into registrations, and it gives us more careful analysis of that particular category of the dimension. So now we see registrations, we see how many we had each day, we see the total number, and we see the conversion rate there, which is 0.43%. Okay, so that is where we find that data. Very interesting. And that means that the crowd was correct. Yes, majority was correct. So sometimes it's a plurality, meaning the largest minority group. And sometimes if it's over 50%, it's majority. Very good. All right, I think, hold on, let me just check if I have one more, if I have to pause here, because otherwise, oh no, we have 2 more. Wow. All right, this one will be easy now for you. What percentage of our visitors were engaged users? Okay. This song a little bit before my quiz did, but whatever. Let's have a look and see what percentage of our visitors were engaged users in September. And I suppose you know where to find it now. Let's have a look and see what everyone else thought about this. What percentage? And 12.56% were the engaged users. Oh, I tried to trick you by putting very low numbers there, but no, we're tricked. Let's go. Let's have a look. And we're going to change our goal option here from registrations to engaged users. So hopefully now you understand the concept here that Google will count people who do various things. You actually name it. You know, Google doesn't name these. You name them. You say what you want to call it, and you have to tell Google how to measure it. But Google will keep it in different categories and then will record on your different response variables. It will tell you all the different things that you want to measure and keep track of them for you and tell you how many people achieved them. And then you can concern yourself more with the explanatory variables, the stuff that maybe you can change in order to improve these. So engage user, which is people have viewed 10 pages. That's how you become an engaged user. And we see from before, very quickly here, we see, 6,762 in total, but a conversion rate, 12.56% of the people who visited the site crossed the threshold into the engaged world. All right. One last question. Let me just fire that up. How much time? Oh, we got a little bit of time. We're gonna be tight, but near enough 5, right? That's fine. Show quick answer. There we go. Okay, great. 12 point. Almost everyone got that. And final question for today. What was our total revenue for September 2020? I think I may have given this one away early, but anyway, pretend I didn't and go and look for it. Okay, what was our total revenue for September 2020? And I'm sure everyone had a great guess at this because I sort of gave the game away earlier when I was talking about revenue. But let's just see. What do we think? Yeah, everyone knew the revenue. There was me trying to be tricky, and I completely failed by pointing out way too early how much it was. But let's see where we would find it if we were looking for it without remembering what I said earlier. Okay, so e-commerce down there on the left, and we just go to e-commerce overview. But I wanted to illustrate that when you're talking money, there is a separate way of gathering money information, and that is with the e-commerce module. And so it's important when you're an analyst to know where your data comes from and understand how it gets it, and not just be like a sort of, oh, somebody else has to find it for me. That when you're counting things like registrations, that's a goal. But when you're talking to money, you've got to do e-commerce, and you got to look at revenue. And yes, the revenue, very, very well done, everybody. The revenue was 3,096 this month. I thought I'd fool somebody, but no way. Everyone got it. All right. Let's have a look and see. Let's look at our multi-game rankings here. Fish Stargazer at number 1, but Flower Tamer right behind it, number 2. Whoa, they're close. And then number 3 and 4 and 5 close as well. My goodness, everyone doing very well. Excellent. Good job. Very quick and right. Quick and right. So just to throw everyone off their perch right now, we've only got a few minutes left. But what I'd like to do is go back to MMAQ, and I have a few Google Analytics questions. Now, this is kind of for fun because you're obviously, I'm not quizzing you on this, like to grade you. But I just wanted to show you, let me just see how many, I can't remember how many I got now. I have a few that I pulled off of Google Analytics, and I'm like, yeah, after we do a few times, maybe you can figure some of these out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, I have 5 of them. All right. So you know what? Let's just do these, and then we'll be done. We'll call it done for the day. So just 5 quiz questions, but you got to click over to MMAQ. Okay, because MMAQ runs a bit different because it has a decreasing points timer. So unfortunately, I can't mix all these up together yet. And we will do 5 more questions, and then that'll be it. Okay. So go over to MMAQ. I'm here now, and I am going to switch it over to the next question. So we're going from 19 to, oh, sorry, not 19. Where are we at? We were at question. Oops, I'm looking at MMA. 1 second. Give me a second. I'm giving you more of a second. There we go. We were at question 11. And if I pull off that, no. There we go. We were at question 11. What does a sessions metric measure visits? Okay. We're going to go from 12 to 16. So 5 questions. All right. So I'll move it over to 12 in 3 and in 2 and in 1 and vámonos. Go. right, final answers in and done. All right, what do we see there? Setting up goals. Look good. Yeah, tricked you on one at least. All right, well, almost tricked you. Tricked 40%. Anyway, okay, let's just go back through these really, really, really quick. And what we started off with is number 12, right? 12. Oops, that's, yeah, there we go. Which of the following most quickly allow you to determine whether Google Analytics code snippet is working on a specific website? Well, you don't really know all of these things and everything, but you did use the real-time report. So I don't know. Hopefully you got that one. That was, let me see how you did. How you doing that one? Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. I think everyone did pretty good on all these. What report indicates the last page users viewed before leaving your website? Well, that would be the exit page report. Indeed. I think that was good. What report shows which types of mobile devices visited a website? And remember, these are real questions from Google Analytics. Google Analytics individual qualification, GAIQ, and it's hard, but I pulled out some of the easy ones. But these are still real questions, and you got that one right, the mobile devices report. Yes, well done. In Google Analytics, what is a dimension? Oof, yeah, it's a bit tough one because it uses real Google language here. And it feels like it could be D, a comparison of data between two date ranges. But hopefully I've drilled it in your head that it is an attribute of the data set that can be organized or used, I would say, better for better analysis. And yes, look at that. Drilled in your head. It's properly good. Excellent. And finally, setting up goals. Goals, remember, are counts. People, we count things with goals. We don't actually tally them up. We don't sum them up. So goals will only tell you the conversion rate. They won't tell you the e-commerce revenue. All right, well done, everybody. We're over our time a little bit, but it's fine, right? We're okay. And so let's just see how we did. Fish at the end of the day, end of day one, Fish Stargazer pulls ahead there. Flower Tamer number 2, and Angel Stargazer number 10. So 2 Stargazers in the top 3 there. Well done, well done. All right, everyone, thank you for your participation. It makes it all the much more enjoyable for me to do this when we have people, everyone jumping in and getting involved in these exercises and quizzes. Certainly makes it a little bit more interactive and interesting since we're all online. But thank you very much, and I will get ready for tomorrow. We'll have some notes for you tomorrow so you can follow along a bit easier than what you said in the morning was a bit hard. So great, I understand. And yeah, we'll see you at 9 a.m. fresh tomorrow. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat. We'll leave it open for a little bit, or save up your questions and ask them tomorrow. Fine. Good. I'm glad it was fruitful. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much. I do appreciate it. Have a great day.